October 1st. We're going to call it to order this morning. Hope you're all doing well. First thing on the agenda, we are going to approve the minutes for September 10th that you should have received from Kristen
Yep.
earlier this week. Do we have any changes to the minutes from last meeting?
No, I
Any
thought they looked
discussion?
great. I'll make a motion to approve those.
Great. Second?
Seconded.
All right, we'll do a roll call.
I don't know that we have to. There's nobody online, right?
Right.
We don't have to? Okay.
No.
You
All in
just-
favor?
Aye.
Okay, perfect. Meeting minutes for September 10th meeting have been approved. Thank you so much. We're going to start off with economic EDC grants, continuation for Rocco's Donuts. We have Leah Scanna, is it? Scanna, yep. She's going to be presenting here for Vinny. You want to come on up? Want to come on up to the
You
podium?
can go right up to the mic if you don't mind. Just us
Yeah, it's just us, yeah.
and a million people on.
Yeah.
I'm Leah Senna. I'm just here on behalf of Rocco's Donut Company, seeking out a grant to that we had to put in a grease trap and I guess the vent hood is what was last discussed. And yeah, that's
You're good. Good.
you
You're
didn't
good.
want me to listen.
So,
yeah, so-
I'll update a little bit. So it, in the packages that were sent out, there was a question last month about when the actual
Timing.
work was done, so the grease trap fell outside the year. But the interior remodel was actually completed in April of 2024. The hood was part of that interior remodel, albeit it was purchased some time ago. They actually couldn't function it completely until this year. So it's up to the committee whether they feel that would warrant the grant.
And the amount was 5,000?
They're asking for 5,000, but the hood was actually in excess of 25,000,
Yeah.
along with all the other interior renovations. It was just easier to focus on the hood because that was one piece of equipment that exceeded the $5,000 request.
So they had a good presentation last month, and the only reason why we weren't able to get them the grant is because it fell outside of that timeline. So with the event being April of 2024, it falls well within the timeline. There any discussion around? No?
Right. No, I would make a motion that we offer one of the EDC grants in the amount of $5,000 to Rocco's Donut Company.
So that would be a total of we gave 12 last time, right? 12.
Yes, albeit one of them, I think, is going to come in slightly under the 2,000, so it's roughly 11,000 and
Okay.
something.
Okay. So that would give us 16 for this round. Just, anyone want a second Karen's motion?
I'll second the 5,000.
Okay.
Yep.
All in favor? Now we have to do a roll call because we have.
Well, I don't know if Scott heard it all. I guess it depends on whether he heard the.
Hi, Scott.
You can finish your motion
Okay.
and then recognize him.
Okay, sounds good. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Did Scott hear this?
Thank
Because
you.
he could vote if he's.
Scott? We can't hear you.
Right. We can't hear Scott.
Is that Megan Trainor's phone?
You're all set.
Right.
Do I stay here?
No, that's up to you. You can. you don't
And
have to
Fred,
stay.
they know what to do next. They're all set. They communicate with you on what happens next.
Yeah, we'll follow up with the paperwork.
Great. All right. Thank you.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
very much.
Congrats. Can you hear us, Scott?
Yes. Sorry, I was trying.
Now it's really loud. Now we can really.
Now we can
hear you.
really hear you, yeah.
Was he able to vote? I guess it's just a matter of whether he can vote or not
Yeah, she would have had to recognize him. but-
prior to.
Yeah.
Welcome. Good morning.
Morning.
All right. So we're going to talk about the annual awards. Even though it is only October 1st, those awards will come up fairly quickly. So we're wanted to discuss having some small working groups to kind of put that awards together. And so I want to just discuss that location that we had last time. Obviously we'll have an EDC coordinator prior to the awards. And small working groups, people getting together, what do we want the awards to be? We've had a lot of discussion around what we want those annual awards to be. We want to be able to get it out more to the community. So there's more of a community feel vote. I think we talked about that the last time. Anything else, Dave, that you can remember of that?
No, I think, I think there needs to be consistency. If it's some public voting, it needs to be all public voting, or the other way around, all internal voting. In terms of the venue, I thought it was nice. I do kind of reflect back on, the pre-COVID days when we had it at a hotel. I don't know about the costs. I mean, you would have a better idea than I, but it just seemed to be a little bit more grand, but I don't know whether sponsorship dollars or whatever could offset that. But I think it's kind of like a showcase event for the organization, the group, the committee, and I don't know. We only do it once a year. I think if we really do it up and really publicize it, I mean, the videos are amazing, and if the public could get a glimpse into it, I think that's would be my position.
Yeah, when we had it at the Doubletree Hotel, and whatever the sponsorship money covered the cost of people attended for free, it truly turned into a community event because you had a lot of top leaders there. The presentations are outstanding.
Right.
And outstanding. And I have to say, it becomes a grand event of the year. And this is a great way to showcase the work of the Economic Development Committee and show our love for business. So the venue was very nice before. It's great. And if you have it at the hotel, we'd have to look into what the expenses are. But the other thing is, I like the town hall. It really goes to show that. Yes, sorry, Forbes. It was a nice event when it was there too. So it depends upon what level we want to go. So.
Well, I guess we'd have to compare the costs.
Yep.
Because, if we could get sponsorship dollars or something like that, I definitely feel like it's a showcase event that shows just how business friendly this town is, and proud.
And I'll offer the option. You don't have to say yes. We can take care of the registration. The chamber will, would love to partner with you on the event. It's an option. I understand if you don't want to do it that way, but I know the registration's the hard part. Checking people in, doing all that work. I mean, you guys did a beautiful job last time, but it's an option available to you. We'd love to be part of it, but it's okay if you don't want to go that direction too.
Okay.
So, if I may.
Yeah, of course.
So I would just say that one of the reasons we got away from the Doubletree, well, COVID.
Yes.
Was one reason, but more importantly, you're talking two different cost extremes. So Doubletree is quite expensive, so you do have to solicit quite a bit of sponsorship, whereas doing it at these other venues, Forbes is free, and the USERA Hall was $500 plus some other expenses. So the costs are significantly different between the two venues, whether it be Forbes, USERA, or Doubletree. So the committee has to keep in mind that if in fact you want to go that way, there's a lot of fundraising that has to go into the Doubletree.
Yeah.
It did get to be quite the event. I mean, I think we had 200 people at one time. It kind of mushroomed from every year, and of course the presentations were fantastic. But
Yeah, the first time the videos rolled out, that event was
Right.
just amazing.
it used to be awkward before that. I recall the first year I was here, everybody on the committee had to present, give a little speech, and not all of us were accustomed to that, myself included. So, but the videos kind of did away with it, and they were just fantastic. So, we've solved that problem thanks to Karen.
Thanks,
Oh,
Karen.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't,
Thanks to my team.
Outstanding.
So,
They do a great
so
job.
Fred, is
Sure.
the goal to net any proceeds from this, or is it to have a neutral
Well,
cost?
you at least want to break even.
Right.
You don't want to go in the rears on this. There's a little bit of money left over from previous years maybe, but if you don't have enough to at least sponsor the event,
Right.
it's not like the EDC has a ton of dough rolling around somewhere to do that. You don't.
So my thought is to cover the cost of the awards and cover the
then
cost of the food. Is there any other outside costs?
Well, it's the cost of the venue.
Venue.
I don't know what that is.
She got that donated when she did it. There was no cost for the venue.
Oh, it was not?
No, Deborah
Okay.
would have asked them to donate it, and they would, to get 200 business leaders in there.
all right, so do you want to discuss that with them? Do you want to be part of that committee to discuss
I would
cost?
welcome that
Okay,
opportunity.
that would be great.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Scott, do you have any thoughts?
I think as far as the donation part of it, we can help with that. I think they'd let us know what we need as far as financial stuff and people and things.
Okay, so I think our first step will be just to figure out what the budget's going to be. So we can figure that out. We can look at
Fred,
the
do you
different
have a
venues.
financial from the last time you did it, like an financial report or a statement?
I'll have to look because it's actually been since COVID. So it was, I think we did it in 2020 maybe, or 19. I'll have to go
19,
back.
yeah.
Because it's been that long. We didn't do it in 21 through.
So what time of
It
year?
might have been 2020, because remember, we used to do
Right.
it at the end of January.
Correct.
And
Oh, is that- okay.
maybe,
We might have done it before COVID in 20, but we
January's
certainly
the next
haven't done it since then.
Okay.
But,
Yeah, so if we can get a prior budget for.
And what's the target date? Is there any talk
Well,
about
so
that?
this is, this has also been a kind of a moving target because we used to do it, going back in my tenure, we used to do it before Christmas, and that always had a lot of traps, because you'd really have to be planning like as we speak now.
Correct.
And it always had conflict. So we've been pushing it later in the spring, but March-ish, April has kind of worked out okay the last couple, 3 years, but we
Right,
can
last year it
certainly
was-
make it a little earlier. Believe it or not, probably the hardest thing, regardless of where the venue is, it's been the guest speaker. We had an in with Karen for a number of years, so we just coordinated around her schedule. So now whoever we get as a guest speaker, we have the undersecretary of the economic development, and we've had the secretary, two great speakers. But that's why believe it or not, again, this sounds kind of crazy, but you have to plan several months
Oh, you do.
beforehand if you're going to plan around the guest speaker. We've had some, as I said, some great guest speakers. If we could count on one every year, but I don't know that we can do that, so.
Have you invited the lieutenant governor yet to come and speak? Have we had the lieutenant governor?
Well, when Karen.
Karen was,
Karen
but
was.
since,
Was the lieutenant.
I
Since
meant the
then,
new
no,
one.
I
No,
don't,
that was one of
Yeah.
the things that was a really big draw,
Right.
like that 2020 year. I think that was the first year we did the videos, and Karen Polito was there,
Right.
and at that point she had been our rep, and then she was lieutenant governor, so
She's
it
from our
really brought a
region.
lot of people. Yes.
Yeah.
right, I mean, both the last two speakers have been very dynamic. I mean,
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah.
they were
I
very
mean,
good.
I think they're both, the secretary or undersecretary, are good draws too. It's trying to get somebody related directly to economic development. I mean, as I said, I don't mean to keep harping on it, but Karen was a good fit because she was local, she understood our economics. There was a lot of synergy there, but that's not to say that anybody else couldn't be great. But it literally takes much bugging with staff to get them to commit to a date, and we literally run the whole event around that guest
Around the
speaker.
date,
At least we
yeah.
have done in the past. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean we have to go do that in the future.
I was thinking that's.
Been there, done that, and you have to start now. And if you chose to, whether we decide or what we're going to do back to January, which is a nice time of year to do something like this, I have to admit. But we'd start now, and we have to make a
Right.
decision on who that is.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, I think the transportation secretary would be good because it's such a big, such a big deal for,
yeah.
495 was brutal this month.
yeah, yeah. But that
I
might
think
be,
economic development is relatable to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And she was great the
Yeah.
year you had her at Forbes.
Yeah.
Really liked her a lot. Last year's was really good too.
Right.
But your economic development person was really good.
Yeah.
Right.
I think we should, because we don't have an EDC coordinator right now, I think we should plan the spring, March, April-ish, and figure out who we want to have for a speaker, so that we'll have time to secure a
Is April
speaker.
potentially too late in your mind, or do you think?
I'm sorry?
Is April potentially too late? you
No,
think?
not necessarily
No,
if we did it early
Early
April.
April, yeah,
So
end of
the
March.
the other downside of the January thing is February is the weather.
The weather, yeah.
Yep.
Plus school
But it's-
vacation
it's-
weeks.
February is school vacation week.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes,
right.
but I'll tell you, January, we don't get snow. It's February.
And
You can ask
And
me, because
April.
I know.
We used to do the
It's-
legislative breakfast.
That's
and-
correct.
And
And
April
so
4th.
now we do legislative breakfast in March.
Yeah.
And technically last year, if I had kept the same date for Expo, we got a major nor'easter
Yeah.
on Expo, but we had moved it up. So who knows? But so far, January has not been the snow month for the last
Yeah.
couple of years. So who can say?
And
But-
is there a day of the week that has worked best, or whatever's available?
I mean, we've typically done it on a Friday morning, but
Yeah.
There's no real,
It's really about getting out in advance and
Yeah.
right.
large advance notice. Friday's always a good day. It has been for us too. Tuesdays are good days because everybody
Why don't
else.
we do step one? Step one, is figure out the venue and, and budget-wise, you know, consistency around the awards. I think we should all put some ideas together for what the awards should be, you know. You obviously get the budget from Fred from prior years, so we can know what to work on for them.
Happy to talk to a Doubletree, but if we're going to go that route, we have to get on their
Right,
schedule right away.
Yeah, that's why we're
Right.
trying to pin down a day.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Karen.
our
Right.
choices.
And the date is tough to pin down if we don't have the speaker. So there's
Yeah,
a lot of
it's a
moving
double-edged
pieces.
sword.
Yeah, if I could, Sandy, I've just two quick things. One is, so are you going to form a subcommittee to
Yeah.
work on that? Okay, and then the second is, just because Dave had said it and talking about, and I know the subcommittee can kind of work on this and come back to us, but I think two things. One is, I don't necessarily think we need consistency in the awards, in the sense that different things happen in town in different years, and one year an innovation award might be a great thing to give, and in another year a new development might be a great thing to give. You know, you don't want to give a new development award to somebody who put a little tiny thing up somewhere just because that's really the only new development this year. I mean, so I think that it can be dynamic, and I don't think anyone is going to be sitting out there like, can't believe they had different awards, a couple of different awards than last year.
I agree
Yes,
with that,
yes,
because
so-
it can be variable, but we could also design awards that are like the People's Choice or something.
Sure,
like
and
yeah.
that would be my only other thing that, that maybe I would disagree with a little bit in terms of, not disagree, but you said either let's have people vote on them or not. And I think what had happened along the way was we came up with kind of the Hall of Fame and the People's Choice kind of awards, and the feeling of the committee at the time, I was not on it, was, well, let's see what the people think. So I think if we're going to have a new development award, I'm not in support of putting that out to the community to see what they think about that, because most of the people in the community are not going to know about the various new
Right.
development. So I
agree.
think there might be an award or two that lend itself to public voting.
Yeah.
So, but I'm sure that the subcommittee can consider some of that and come back to us.
Okay, so we'll put together a subcommittee. I'll put an email out to the committee to see who wants to be on that subcommittee. I'm sure.
You can add me to that. I'll
Karen will
volunteer
be.
already. Yep.
Okay,
Now, that's just subcommittee in general, or?
in general, to put to help.
Yeah, I'm glad to be on that.
Okay. And then I'm thinking probably Holly. I'll ask her.
No, yeah, you're on it.
Voluntold.
There you go.
Yep, voluntold always works.
All right, and then, so Fred, your action items would be to get us the prior year's budget. Good morning, Sean. How are you? We are talking about the, just the EDC awards, and date, and thinking about that, thinking about a speaker, budget, sponsorships, and things like that. That's where we are. Good morning. Take a deep breath. Okay.
Fred, did the EDC coordinator do all the fundraising for the sponsorship to cover your expenses? Is that what that person did?
No, not specifically. They would be involved in it, but there's a fine line there, because we really can't go out as a town and say, hey, we're fundraising for the town. It has to really come through the committee, because
Okay.
you can't solicit for the town specifically for that.
Yep.
So he or she was not in charge of doing that part?
No,
of
they
it.
were involved in it, but they didn't actually go out and, they kind of
But
corralled the money and.
the committee can be involved in that, yes?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's our-
Absolutely, because that's what
Great.
you're representing, the
Yeah.
committee.
Yeah.
But
Gotcha.
it gets, that's the whole thing with the fundraising, is having the EDC person going out and said, hey, I'm here from the town looking for money.
Right,
It's-
yeah. Just that's not a good look.
No, it's not, it's really not a position they can be in, but they obviously are representing the committee and they can say that, but
Thanks.
it's, again,
Yeah. All
it's
right.
always that fine line of putting pressure on anybody because you're from the town.
Well, I'm always happy to sponsor as well, and Scott, so,
But let me see if I
Yes,
can get
great.
perfect.
some two different ends of where we are budget-wise. The other thing is, and it's certainly up to the chair, we might want to just kind of continue the conversation. The awards that usually falls out, that's always been like not a problem, but it always like comes up the last minute, and then like 2 months before the awards, we decide on the awards, and then we get out the thing, and so it is nice to think about them a little bit earlier, even if you don't have the specific names of the companies that can come as progress goes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's helpful to have, what you want to settle in for that year and then go out and get names and go through that process. Even if you only take 5 or 10 minutes every meeting to kind of pick away at that
Yeah.
until the award's actually to that day.
And just remembering, if I
Yeah,
could say any
of course.
time frame wise, to give Westborough TV enough time to pull
Videos.
that together.
100%. That's
So,
What
yeah.
does that timeline usually look like, Karen?
You know what, we've had, maybe between like 4 and 6 weeks. It's usually, it's not that it necessarily, I mean, it does take us a long time, but it's another one of those, we've got to get the people to interview and get on site and scheduling that. And,
Yeah.
people cancel because the people we're talking to are busy people and heads of their companies. And so we just need enough time to make sure we can pull those together. It's always a little bit of a
And what is
fire
the average
drill.
number? Is it 6 to 8 awards?
Yeah,
Yeah,
somewhere in that.
so, yeah,
It's oscillated. It's usually been at least 6, but I think we've done as many as 8 or 9.
So I think because I have been on this committee for a real long time, and none of us really have been on this committee for,
Sure.
can you give us, will you also send us what awards were given out, and then we can get that out, and then our next meeting, we can kind of talk about which ones we want to keep and where we want to go.
Yep.
With that, does that? And that'll be November. In the meantime, we can kind of think about speakers.
Yep.
Okay.
See, look at that. You're already almost into January. See?
Well, that's,
It
that's
doesn't
it,
take
right?
long to chew up months on this.
It doesn't.
No, I think a lot can be accomplished. You've
Sure.
done a good job with it. It's just we're tweaking and looking at it now. So,
Yeah.
and so that every year it's systematic.
Yes.
Okay, any other discussions on that? No, we have our
Yeah,
action.
one quick thing is, once everything is together, if you could just give me and I'd love to help any way I can. I'll be in Westborough. I mean, I won't be able to talk after today because I have to have some medical procedures done, but for about 3 days. But I know we're willing to help in any way we can, and I know of a few more people. And then when you decide on speakers and how many you want, me able to help there too as well. So.
Okay, I think we just need the one speaker, the keynote, correct?
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, we just need the
that's
one.
typically been it.
Yeah.
Because the awards take
Okay.
up a lot of the time, too.
Yeah, because Karen does, Westborough TV, sorry, does all the videos, and that's really the big presentation. Then we
Right.
have the keynote speaker, so that would be great. All
Yeah,
right.
I would suggest to the committee not to get away from that platform. It's worked pretty well for
Yeah, it has,
a number
yeah.
of years.
Okay.
Agreed. Agreed.
Agreed, yeah. All right, great. Thank you, Scott. Much appreciated.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next thing on the agenda is discuss the process associated with grants and the presentation of the grants. I've gotten some feedback from committee members. And Jenny, I think you made some good points earlier about when we do give out the EDC grants that, people are sitting here and we're having discussions around whether we give them the money or not. So we can't ask them to leave because it's a public meeting. But I do think that we should discuss each grant. So Sean, I know last time you made the motion to approve all 3. I got some feedback from the last meeting that, there was some discussion around that. So I think we need to discuss each grant individually so that everyone can kind of, and we should anyway, we're public servants, so we should be able to put our input in there. I want to get some thoughts from you guys as to, it is uncomfortable, but we are public. So I want to get your feedback on the presentation process. Do we have people come in and say, you don't need to stay, just let them know that they don't need to stay?
Well, can the presentations be separate from the decision? I mean,
That's it, but we can't force people to leave. 'cause
right,
we're-
but I
yeah.
don't think they'll come to extra meetings, If we say that we're going to have an evaluation, make your presentation, the decisions will be made within 2 weeks or something like that, or 3 weeks or 4 weeks at the next meeting.
Yeah, I think the thing with that though is that you have to vote to make the decision.
Right.
And you have a meeting just once a month.
Even if, if you put 4 weeks in between, is that doable? Like have one meeting be presentations and the next meeting be decision? Like, then you have to do presentations, right? Or not really?
I guess it's up to the committee. I mean, your memory's going to go away in a month. But I mean, it all depends on what you want to do. I don't see why you couldn't have presentations and vote on them the next month. That's kind of up to the committee,
I think that's a long time to wait for the applicant too, but
Yeah. I mean, it's just,
something to consider.
It's incredibly awkward to be discussing when they're in the room. And secondly is, so I have a question, you know, being new to this committee. The purpose of the presentation is what, since we get all the documentation ahead of time? If we have, that's expected with each grant application. Is there something else that we are looking for when they present? We just want to know who it is, who the owner is. I guess I'm asking, why are they presenting?
so if I may.
Sure, yeah.
I think the committees, I've heard a little bit different, and we talked about it as far as the rubrics. So we haven't, on our end, I will say from staff members, we haven't made a big emphasis on the presentation. That certainly can change, and the new EDC person could actually advise the person presenting that we'd like to see a PowerPoint, or we'd like to see a formal presentation. It's always been up in the air on the presentation, and more of it's been to, some have been a little bit more formal, but a lot of them are just to kind of answer questions. They somewhat can become a little bit awkward, as you see with some presentations. But that's, certainly if this committee would like that, that's something we can kind of ingrain and tell the people as they apply that, hey, there will be an expectation that you give, you know, a 5-minute formal presentation. That's up to the committee.
Well, and I think hearing from them, because we do have a lot of questions sometimes when they come in, so I don't think I would like to see the applications in and not see the business owners.
Well, then I would suggest the business owner is the one that comes all the time, if that's the case. I mean, the young lady today is wonderful, and I think she thought it was just a rubber stamp. But if we really did have questions, the owner wasn't here, and the owner wasn't here the last time either. So if we have questions, the owner should be able to answer those questions. That's all I'm asking, if we're going to do that. So, and 9 times out of 10, they were the owners when they were there. But
But there have been times we gave out grants when we didn't get representation.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, as I said, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Sean.
No, I was saying that, you know, prior, I think we didn't insist on the presentation.
Okay.
And so now we've done that, I think. So I think since we've done that, somebody's, sometimes remote, but somebody's attended.
Right.
I also think that the owner, and I don't know if that's communication, ever talking to one afterwards, didn't know what to say. So I think it's going to be clear what their presentation should be, because it was so awkward for one of the owners. They didn't know what to say. Well, I sent you my paperwork, now what?
Scott, go ahead.
So really quick, and I'm one of like positive reinforcement on every day, everything, you know, every day's a great day. And so I wonder if we could suggest that maybe they reach out to people that we've done grants for in the past and get an idea on how they did their presentation, you know, because that way they're, you know, instead of us influencing their presentation, they're reaching out for people that then we can suggest. And I don't know if that's, we can do that or not. So I apologize for not knowing an answer, but if they could reach out to somebody that gave a presentation, that way they really know what the platform is about and what to present and what we're looking for.
Well, I don't, Scott, to answer your question, I think we could do that, but I would suggest that maybe we take a slightly different tack and along those lines. Well, one, just for clarification, the young lady that was here is part of the ownership group, if you will.
Okay.
Because there's a couple sons and a daughter that work with the
Yes.
dad. So they're all, as I understand it, they're all intimately involved with the business. The gentleman that presented last time is the son, again, of the original.
Yep, I know that.
And he was supposed to be here, so it was kind of a last-minute thing.
Yeah.
But, point well taken. The person applying for the grant should be here.
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest, as I said, we can try this the next grant cycle, is that have us as a staff kind of prep that a little bit more. To one, insist that the person applying for the grant be here, or a really good stand-in if they can't physically or whatever, or remotely.
And maybe give them some criteria for their presentation.
Yeah.
You know, give them
We
clear
can-
criteria.
Absolutely. We can work on, you know, hey, you should give a 5-minute kind of a formal thing, and then be prepared to answer questions specifically on the business and or what you're applying for.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that sticks in my mind was the bridal shop. I mean, when she started talking about, you know, the nuance of the business and what she had done and enhance the size of the bit. I'm like, wow, okay, that's really making something happen. That's
Right.
great.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's about painting a picture, why this grant, what it does for your business.
Yep.
Yeah.
We need to focus on, the grant should be for, like you said, economic development. We're adding new employees, we're adding more value. Versus,
Sure.
Yeah, I agree with the upfront prep, you know, with the new economic development coordinator, they can do that. And then also emphasizing that it's a competitive process,
Yeah.
I think helps.
Yeah.
Good point. Yep.
Do we define enough what types of things qualify, do you think?
Yes, and we've kind of, well, the committee's been very liberal on that, too.
Yeah.
That very few things have been denied on.
Yeah, I think we've got to be very careful on cost of doing business. You know,
Exactly.
things that kind of, I think we really should be focusing on what is enhancing, you know, the businesses. Versus, obviously the hood, they had to have the grease trap, that's important, and we want to be able to support our businesses in that way, for sure. But I think we really need to be mindful of.
Yeah, I mean, it was easy for me with the Westborough House Pizza, outdoor dining, highly visible, at a stoplight. I mean, that's what we're trying to show.
Yeah.
That was easy, but you're right, internal renovations, paint jobs and stuff is a little tougher for me.
But we can, yeah, okay. All right, so you guys are gonna work on the presentation piece?
Yeah, I think that's something we'll give it an honest shot for the next time and see how it goes.
Okay, sounds good.
I mean, believe it or not, the grants aren't that old in the overall scheme of things. And it's still been a work in progress every year to kind of finesse it and grow it, shrink it, whatever,
Yeah.
with the suggestions of the committee.
Yeah,
As you said.
I don't want to take pot shots. I think it's been a
Yeah.
very successful program.
Great.
You
No.
know? Yeah,
I don't mean that.
Yeah.
I apologize if I'm insinuating that. I'm just saying that with anything, it needs to
Yeah,
kind of get finessed as we go.
Right.
and I agree
We're
with
talking
Ginny,
about
though.
streamlining the process, which I think is brilliant. Secondly, I think there's tremendous value in this program, and you've all done a good job. I just think this poor young lady today was a little shy.
Yeah.
And, you know, her walking up and saying, okay, what am I supposed to do today? Well, introduce yourself. You know, are you a part owner of this business?
Yeah.
You know, I'm here to recommend, you know, so that she has a good experience too.
Yeah.
We want them to have a good experience, you know. And I wanted to know what her role was with the company. So
Yes.
please understand it was not. It's just, I felt for her when
Yeah.
she got up there.
Yeah,
That's
right.
all.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the difficult things is speaking in front of people.
Yes.
And so I think that's where the struggle is when they walk in. But I think that if we make them feel comfortable, that's the main thing, is making everyone feel comfortable when they walk in and letting them know that we're here to support them.
Yeah.
And we are. And I think they realize that, because you'll see that kind of fear going to a comfort level. And, you know, just by speaking, you know, several times, and not that I like it, but, you know, it's challenging, but speaking in front of people you don't know, especially.
Yeah.
So I think, again, if we make them feel comfortable, that's the main thing.
Yeah, and I think in this particular case, it was a continuation of what we had just discussed, and we were just trying to, you know, get her in and out for that.
Yeah.
But I agree with Ginny. I think a month is too long to wait between. So,
I think so. I don't agree with that, but
I mean, I will agree that I lose clarity between the meetings, but the awkwardness is we don't want to rub a stamp, you know, because there's many businesses that are deserving that, you know, maybe haven't stepped forward.
Karen?
Well, if I could, Sandy, it's supposed to, I mean, we're trying to help be supportive of our businesses, right? So it puts us in a funny position to ask some of our local businesses to come in and ask for a grant and say, sorry, no. Like all of a sudden, what you were trying to do I mean, they have to understand that, but that's part of what makes it awkward, and you want their experience to be good. I think that is another thing. You want them to feel very supported. It doesn't have to, in my eyes, be a major presentation. I mean, we are going to have the paperwork ahead of time. We are going to have had a chance. So really the reason I would want them here is so that we could ask some follow-up questions. But I think it's a good exercise to have them. I mean, in some ways they could follow the grant in terms of, what they've filled out, who are you? What's the grant for, and have it in this, it doesn't have to be overwhelming. I mean, they could have 2 slides and we'd be good to go. Who are you? What's your business about? And what's the grant for? And kind of just reinforcing what we have in front of us already. Some committees will discuss an item, people can go and think on it, and then 2 weeks later, because most of them meet every 2 weeks, they would have a vote on that, and that would eliminate some of the awkwardness. I agree that I think waiting from one meeting to the next when it's a month like that is maybe too long, and maybe we just have to kind of handle the awkwardness. I mean, we could put the vote at the end of the meeting, so you could have the presentations, you could have the actual vote at the end of the meeting to separate it. Don't want to make people sit through the rest of the meeting if they really want to sit here and wait to see if they got it, but we might have to just handle the slight awkwardness of that situation.
So I think one of the things in the presentation is how is it going to improve the economic development of the, so if they can't prove that, then it's not, then they wouldn't be eligible for a grant. That's, I think, maybe that could be a question.
And I agree with that, and this is not to put any more work on the team, but when you think about grant writing and stuff, it's almost a science to it. It's you must answer the following 10 questions to be eligible, or you go back to square one. And I don't know, we probably could find one. I'm glad to even go look to see if there is such a thing, a grant application process for, small businesses or something like that. But I think that eliminates a lot of the question.
Yep, and I think it's it's a work in progress. We're again newer committee. Once we get our new EDC coordinator, we'll be able to work with them a little bit on what they need. So, do we want to kind of like Karen's idea of waiting for the vote at the end, just letting people know you don't have to stay, just giving them that option. You can come present. You don't have to stay if you don't want to, and then that most people I think would leave at that point, and then we do the votes at the end. Do you want to try that for the next round, Sean?
I mean, I think it's important if they're going to stick around that we have the discussion in front of them in case we misinterpret or they feel they need to correct us on a point we're making.
Yes.
But, on the select board, we have a lot of awkward moments too. So.
Yeah.
Sean's pretty comfortable with awkward moments.
I agree with Sean on that. I think that, because sometimes there are questions that we want to ask and that we miss them. So, asking that question while they're there instead of speculating is, I think, very important.
Yeah. So we could certainly have the discussions around that and do the vote at the end for everybody. Let's try that format next round. Everyone agree with that?
I'd stay around if there's money available to me, I'm not leaving. I want to know if I'm getting it or not.
Great. It's
So,
Yeah.
yep.
Let's give it a shot. Let's just give that format a shot. Let's see. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, and then if that doesn't work, then we can try something else.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah, I'm fine with
Is it-
that. I guess the one thing would be then if they all stick around for the rest of our meeting, does that even get more awkward? They're waiting.
There's a drum roll.
Well, the ones and if some left and some stayed, do they have an edge? I mean,
So,
that's,
Cindy, I'm sorry, can you just recap? Because we can put that message out to the applicants that, we can tell them beforehand if after the presentation, the committee would like you to stay or would prefer you to leave.
I don't think we can say that. I don't think we can say that we prefer them to leave, but they can leave if they can come in and
I'm sorry,
present.
yes.
And
But I
I
think we just
misspoke.
vote.
I think we just vote.
So sorry. I know I said that, but we're kind of brainstorming here. But I guess Scott said we're going to have the discussion about it, and I feel like so maybe we just have the discussion and the vote right then, and it just kind of is what it is in terms of people still being here. So maybe I retract my vote at the end of the meeting statement. Kristen, let the minutes show.
So I think
I think that also we can give them, guidance on what to improve on. What we're actually, I think that's an important thing as far as the board is we guide them, because we want the business to come, but, it's offering input. For me, anytime I work with anyone, I want, if something doesn't work out, I want, them to give me guidance on how I can get better and what I can do better. So I think that's very important, and for them to know that that's what we're there for, is to help them.
That's
I
good,
think-
yeah.
I think part of the awkwardness, and not to beat this horse, but it's people coming in that may not fully understand whether or not they conform to the objective of the grant program, you know? And I think that's on the front end is, you know, just making it clearer to them. I guess the rubric does do that, though, indirectly. I mean, it's like, you know, does this, you know, you get points if you do this or if you do that, so.
I think it just comes down to letting them know when they present what that expectation is.
Sure.
Introduce yourself, who you are, why you applied for it, you know, and how it's going to enhance your business here in Westborough for economic development. What more do we, and then we can
Right.
ask anything else after the application if there's some holes that we want to ask. But if they, which I believe that, you know, the EDC coordinator collects, or whoever collects all the information. Kristen, you do a chance to review everything.
No,
to see-
the EDC coordinator does that.
And that's what I thought. The EDC coordinator looks at all, looks to make sure that they have everything. And I agree with Scott, making them feel very comfortable. But for me, if I'm going to present, tell me what I need to say. You know, what are you looking for?
Sure.
And I just got an email like that yesterday. So asking what, you know, what are you looking for? And I think I would know that I ask those questions ahead of time too.
So I think one of the things is when we get the applications in that email, we all review them right away. And if we feel like someone's not eligible or it doesn't, then go back to the EC coordinator and say, these are the thoughts that we have. So maybe they can
That's a
go
good
back
point before it goes so
to,
far down the road.
yeah, so maybe they can go back to the business owner and say, you need to clarify, you know, this and that. So again, we are business friendly and we are giving them feedback on their applications. The keys there is to get the applications, you know, couple days before the actual grant awards. So that might be another way to do that, to be able to give feedback that way, is that within the parameters of, again, I'm looking for town, you know, laws and, you know, protocol, so.
Well, I will say that we do have, myself, the finance director, and the EDC person have historically gone through the applications to make sure that they're as complete as they can be before they actually get passed on to you.
Okay,
So we don't generally make a determination to the value of the application, because that's not our position, but we try to make sure that the application is complete. I personally missed the Rockos, so I do apologize for that, but we do try to preface all of that before it gets to the committee.
okay.
I think Jenny made such a valid point. Before we even start the process, as the EDC chair, is to let everyone know this is a competitive process. Having done grants for our schools, we make it very clear it's competitive. Sometimes because we just didn't have all money to give away. We wanted to give money, but it was competitive, so they understood it. So I think just reiterating when they come up front before anybody presents, this is a competitive process. We do like to support business here, but it's competitive, that's all.
Okay, so committee, you want to keep the program as is and making the decisions when they're sitting here? We want to have the discussion, so we've gone around and around and around. What is the final thought process? Scott, what do you think?
I had one more question.
Sure.
Is the presentations, I mean, for someone who has to do probably 8 presentations a month, I wouldn't care to put a format together that's, I don't know if that is possible or not. Just a baseline based on, you know, what they're, you know, what we're looking for, what some of the presentations have been in the past. So I don't know if that's even possible or not. So I'll lean on you guys because you got the experience and the knowledge. But you know, everything that's been said is, you know, the EDC is there to support, and it's done a very good job. And with the transition, I think it's been a blessing, really, because it's worked out really good. Fred taking on the roles he has really stepped up, and everyone else that's new and involved has brought such good information to it. So I like the process the way it is, and I think it makes everyone feel comfortable. And we just have to let them know that, you know, we're there for them. And if they don't get it, just don't give up, you know, because, you know, we grow through our failures in life. And Not saying they're failing, it's just that because you only fail if you quit. It's just that we have to make sure that we let them know that just because you didn't get it this time doesn't mean you failed. It just means we can come back next time.
Yeah, and I think, right, you're right, giving them the feedback of why, obviously we'll be having the discussion, but, here's the parameters and what we're looking to do. And splitting that up when we did between the existing businesses and new businesses, that was a fairly new transition for us.
Yeah.
The only other thing that we did not talk about today, and I know, Karen, you brought it up the last time, can a business keep coming back for the money? For more money?
I believe the way it reads is that you can, but not in the same, I forget if it's calendar year or fiscal year. So you can't keep coming back like next quarter.
Yeah.
But yes, they can return, but I believe it's a year kind of
I mean,
deal.
businesses are always trying to improve. So if they're trying to improve each and every year and they're investing in their business every year, I mean, I don't.
Well, the other caveat, and I don't know that we've actually had it maybe once, if somebody does apply and doesn't get the grant, they can then reapply in another quarter.
Okay.
So that's been allowed too. Hasn't been taken up very often, but because it depends, as you said, it's competitive, but generally if we only have 1 or 2 applicants in any quarter as opposed to 10,
Right.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the ability to come back and, as Scott says, do better next time type of thing and more relevant. I do question the need for somebody to come back multiple times in a year.
yeah, I don't think they can, I
Yeah.
guess is the bottom line.
So it's, I guess I would expand that to, are we possibly excluding other businesses by giving double grants to some people?
But again, each year there, if you're a restaurant, if you're you're always trying to improve, and there's always expenses to incur if you're trying to do something like that. So I think the 1 year waiting period, you get it, and then you wait in a year. As long as you can show that it is that you're improving, your business for the town, I think that should be okay. But it's got to be improving your
My
business.
personal vote would be that that's not great. I think that there's a lot of people that maybe aren't as aware, and it just because you're aware, you can keep coming back. I think the goal should be make more people aware.
Well, that's the EDC coordinator's job, right? So I think that's,
Fair enough.
do we need to vote on this? No? Okay.
No, I don't think so.
All right, so we're going to keep it as is
With the tweaks.
with the tweaks, yeah. All right. All right, so we will keep the voting as is and give the applicants more direction as far as their presentation and give them that honest, positive feedback if they do not receive the grant. Got it, Kristen? That was a lot. So, all right, next up, we've got Fred talking about the sewer moratorium. That's exciting.
Yeah, thank you, Cindy. So just to update you a little bit, as you may or may not be aware, the sewer moratorium was approved through May of 2025. The DPW director is presently working with staff to go through the report, the numbers. He has a basic question, which I'm getting out to the committee, and I'd like a response individually and come back to me. But we're hoping to maybe lift that before the May of 25 deadline, but that's not carved in stone. The meetings that we've had in internal staff seem to be going in a positive direction. So it still has to go through the process. It has to be presented to the select board. They'd have to vote to take it out and blah, blah, blah. The question really presented by the DPW director, and I haven't gotten these responses, is there questions from the general business community out there is the effect of the sewer community moratorium, I'm sorry. So he wants to know if there's questions out there that aren't being answered, or if they're generally questions that I haven't heard. Nobody's come to me and said, hey, for instance, when the sewer moratorium is lifted, how does that affect my sewerage capacity? Can I just open up? I don't know. He wants to get those questions. So when the moratorium is lifted, he'll know how to respond to it. I'd rather know that now and be able to have responses to those questions if they're out there. So if you know of any businesses that have specific questions related to the moratorium, and/or when it's lifted, if I can get those, I'll pass those on to the DPW director, if that makes sense. That's what I believe he's tasked me to ask this committee,
Okay.
especially because you're all have communication with the businesses in Westborough.
Okay. Any questions for Fred?
No, I think the challenge is people don't know how it impacts them till they apply. You know, that because the level of awareness doesn't seem to be there until you actually ask for capacity and find out what you're entitled to. So that seems to be a challenge.
Yeah, no, he may not have that, but I'll get that back to him, that's, you know, a general question, what happens when the suit, how that affects your capacity when the moratorium's lifted.
Yeah, because I think when somebody buys a business or a building, I should say, they're just assuming there's enough capacity available to do what they're trying to do.
But yeah, any of those questions that are out there, if you can please get them to me. I'm not asking you from right, you know, as we
Yeah.
sit. I'm just throwing the question out there so I can get that back to the DPW director.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, Sandy.
Go ahead. No.
I know Todd's not on the committee anymore. I almost said he's not with us anymore. That sounded terrible. But I mean, obviously Todd would be a good person for
Yeah.
you to fire that question off to.
Sure.
just Based on what he does for work.
Right.
And I know he had a lot of questions and comments when Chris did his presentation on the moratorium. So might be worth asking him.
Yeah, I can reach out to him.
Yeah.
I think your point is to ask all the real estate developers, because
Well-
they're the ones that are doing it. Yep, yep.
For sure. I mean, certainly
Got
Todd
quite
had a
few
good
in this town.
understanding. Yeah, that's true.
Awesome.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions, comments on that? No. Ginny, you are up for a vote to support the Highway Business District zoning article.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So at the last meeting, I gave a presentation on the zoning article that will be going to town meeting on October 21st. The planning board did vote to support it for town meeting. And so now I'm asking that this committee take a vote on whether to support it as well.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, just a comment. So at tonight's select board meeting, we'll probably approve the warrant. So technically not on the warrant yet, but I encourage us to take a vote today. This is our last meeting before town meeting. If for some reason the article changed between now and then, or we hear that the motion is different, technically what could happen is you could post a meeting before town meeting and re-vote if you were interested, if there was some sort of material change between now and then. I don't expect it.
You're making
But-
me nervous.
No, I don't, no. I'm just saying, I just sort of technically wait for the warrant to come out, just providing that information.
So we could take a vote on this.
I have
with the
nothing
provision-
sinister that I'm working on underneath.
What is Sean doing
I'm a
already?
little
Right.
suspicious.
Just
All right,
pro-
that was not my
Sorry. Just process-wise, because they haven't actually closed the warrant yet. So I think just in most cases where we'd be voting on something before the warrant is actually closed, that's kind of the process that would go through. Don't worry, Jenny. Just a quick question, because I can't remember from last time, but who's sponsoring this one?
The planning
It
board.
is sponsored by the planning board, okay.
Yeah, I think we can typically, Jenny and myself would get you something that Sandy can approve if the committee would like for the endorsement, because it has to be done today, I guess, to get in front of the select board. That be correct or no?
What do you,
The recommendation letter to support it from the committee.
oh, that doesn't need to
To go
go in front of the select board. It could go to just town
In
meeting.
front of town
Yeah,
meeting.
you would you would designate someone at town meeting to get up and say, on such and such date, the Economic Development Committee voted to support
Support
this
this, yeah,
article.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, sometimes we
Unanimously.
include letters
unanimously,
too.
yeah. Right.
So then I'd make a motion to, for the committee to support the planning board's highway business district zoning article.
Can we get a second?
I would second that.
Great, okay, roll call. Scott, we're going to start with you.
Yes, rather yes.
Leonardo, yes.
Keo, yes.
Jingers, yes.
Coker, yes?
Henderson, yes.
Chapman, yes.
Bagden, yes.
Everyone's in favor, so we are good. Whatever letter I need to do, and then when's town meeting?
October 21st.
Okay.
Yeah, so you'll just have to designate someone to stand up and make that statement.
Karen, you gonna be there?
Oh, yes.
All right. May I designate you to be the person?
Sure.
Thank you so much. All right, awesome. All right. All right, now Jenny, you're still up. Planning Department report.
I don't really have anything new to add. I think since the last meeting, the planning board did approve a multifamily development for 25 Connector Road, which is a 109-unit development. And it will have 1 and 2 bedrooms. They're about 350 square feet each. It was previously the Sonesta Extended Stay Hotel, so they're just converting those. One really nice thing about that approval is that it includes 25% affordability, thanks to a subsidy from the Affordable Housing Trust. So that means that all 109 units will count on our subsidized housing inventory, rather than just the 20%. So that's really
great.
exciting.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, and really just preparing for town meeting in the planning department. So pretty busy with the zoning articles.
Oh, we did have a joint select board, planning board meeting. I think it was since our last
Oh,
EDC meeting, and you gave a presentation to I don't know if you want to briefly talk about that on some of the state's changes. Maybe they weren't necessarily directly business focused. They were more.
Right. Yeah, there have been some changes under Mass General Law 40A, which is the zoning act. And one of the big things is for accessory dwelling units. As of February 2nd, all municipalities will be required to allow them by right, which they're also known as in-law apartments, accessory apartments, things like that. There are regulations around them, but in Westborough, we do have an existing ADU, an accessory dwelling unit bylaw, and we allow them by right currently, but we do have some things that we need to modify, so we'll be changing it for March town meeting, our current bylaw. It's important to note for the public and for you all that 40A will still go into effect on February 2nd, so we can't do anything other than what 40A allows. It's the same as educational uses having certain protections, agricultural uses having certain protections, and now accessory dwelling units will have certain protections. So that's in place, and there were a couple of other changes under 40A. I'm trying to remember what they were.
Yeah, that was the big one.
But that's the really
for
big
me.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, see if I understood or remember what you said. In the state regulation, if you have that in-law apartment, you would then be able to rent it to someone.
Yes, there's no owner, you cannot require owner occupancy. It will not be allowed by law. And that is one thing that we do have in our current bylaw. We'll no longer be able to require that. You can rent it out to someone other than family. You're no longer allowed to require only family members or a caretaker. It's limited to 900 square feet. It can be attached or detached. And this is something that will allow it in all single-family zoning districts, which is all of our residential districts.
If the building is 2 stories, can you designate just 900 square feet of it? Or is it the total freestanding?
It's essentially living space. It's gross floor area. So if you have, I mean, I always caveat that we have to see the plans. It's hard to make theoretical decisions, but 900 square feet of independent living space. So it has a kitchen, it has a bedroom, those things, and it will constitute an accessory dwelling unit. So we'll be looking at a couple of different things. Right now in Westborough, we allow up to 1,000 square feet by right attached. but detached is going to the Zoning Board of Appeals. So we'll be looking at different things for the bylaw. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. There's also many presentations online from the American Planning Association and other places.
Awesome. Any other questions for Jenny? No? Good. All right, Fred, you're up. Community development update.
I'm going to actually go out of order a little bit, if you don't mind. I'm going to take the EDC update because I'm very happy to announce that we have a new EDC coordinator starting on October 8th. Her name is Laura Crawford. I apologize, I haven't been able to get that information out to the committee before now, but we actually didn't get paperwork in until, completed paperwork until like yesterday, so.
It's breaking news.
Yeah, it is breaking news.
Put that across the bottom, Aiden. Breaking news. Right across, a little ticker across the bottom.
That's exactly correct. Laura comes to us, she worked in Texas and in Massachusetts. I think she has a great background. She has some financial background as well as not specifically an EDC coordinator, but related fields and working with development for economic. She's very personable, and I can't wait for her to start. So that's my EDC news. Hopefully get her around to all the committee members in the coming weeks.
Does she live locally, Fred?
Wellesley.
Oh, good for her.
So it's a
That's
reverse
not
commute.
far.
Yeah.
No.
So she seems to be excited to come on board, and as I said, a week from today.
Wow, good job.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
great.
thank
Excellent.
you.
Yeah, look forward to it.
So that's our best news of the day.
Look how excited Fred is.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to take it up first. I'm dying to say it all.
I know.
There are a couple small businesses that have opened in the last week or so-ish. There's one at 108 Milk Street. It's Jamaica Ground, if I'm saying it correctly. It's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu center. So that's opened up in a small space down there. The reason I went out of order too is I'm hoping to get the new person to get to those companies because I haven't had a chance to talk to them. And on the arcade building right behind the gas station, there's EH Cards, which is a sports cards and memorabilia store that opened up on a small vacant spot there. So those are two new businesses.
We also have the new Pilates business as well. What's her name?
Body by Benson.
Body by Benson.
Oh, thank you.
That's
So-
Yeah, we got a ribbon cutting plan for
yeah,
her.
she's a young entrepreneur.
Yes.
Really, something that I think we should definitely connect with.
Yeah, great. So those are, I've been navigating getting to those businesses, so I'm very happy to have Laura here to get to
Yes.
those businesses in the next
Great.
few weeks.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's good news.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
congrats on having having Laura on board.
Hire,
She's
yeah.
going to be great. She was awesome.
Excellent.
All right. Is there any new business that anyone would like to bring up? Scott, anything you want to bring up?
No, just one comment that I think that the Westborough EDC board has went through a lot this year, and just to see everybody how we've changed and the changes that have been made have been wonderful. And Brad's taking the role he has, the new director, everything has been amazing to see the teamwork and the transition. So just a comment on that.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Great.
I do have one more thing to say. So in the planning department, we did hire a new assistant town planner. Kristen was given the position, so we're very happy for her.
Congratulations.
That's great.
So we're very excited for that. She has graciously offered to continue to help with minutes until we find a new administrative assistant.
Great,
So
great.
we really appreciate that.
Yeah.
excellent.
I love promoting from within. That's amazing. That's really good. Thank you. Congrats. You deserve
And
it.
also, Sparkling Cleaning Service is a ribbon cutting Thursday night for their new location here in Westborough. We hope you all join us. So,
Great. Okay. I think that's about it. So we need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
I'll second it.
Scott?
Really, yes.
Leonardo, yes.
Keo, yes.
Gingras, yes.
Coker, yes?
Henderson, yes.
Chapman, yes?
Bagden, yes.
Meeting adjourned.
Excellent.
Have a great month, everybody.
Take care, Scott.
Thank you. Take,
All
good
right,
to see you,
thanks,
Scott.
thank you.